Awesome.
Okay,
Awesome. Okay, perfect.
we are recording.
Um,
Go ahead. I wanted to introduce you really quick.
Go for it.
I have a lot
Yeah,
of great things to say about you. So this is Karalee, and if you don't know who she is, by the end of this call, you are going to be so thankful that you earned this call, because I met this sweet, incredible friend and leader at our RF Beach retreat in January, just not even a year ago. And when I sat down and I learned about her and her story, I'm like, this girl's going to be RFX. Little did I know it was going to happen within a week, but she's going to fill you in. She's amazing, and you guys are so fortunate to be on this call. Honestly, she's so humble and she's so kind, but her leadership is incredible. Her friendship is amazing, and she is as real and raw as you will ever hear anybody get. But she is from Canada. And she's moving to Australia. So she's pretty freaking amazing and awesome. And I would love for her just to take over and share with you rock stars who earn this call tonight what she wants to train on. So I told her whatever she does, it's going to be good, and it's all her, and she takes the floor. So I will shut up, and I have my notes ready to go.
Awesome. Thank you, sweetheart. We literally fell in love with each other in San Diego. It was like this instant friendship. So when she asked me to do this call, I was more than honored and thrilled to be on with all of you, all of y'all. I'm practicing all my accents, right? And share with you. And I thought of a few topics. We've been doing a bit of training on our team. And this one is actually about the most amount of vulnerability. And I don't do it often, but I've just had such great feedback and I love doing it. And so I love that we're an intimate group tonight, because we're going to get a little bit raw with each other. And I hope the little chat works on the side, because I might get you to type in the chat on the side as we go a couple of things. And I'm going to have to see if I can. Oh yeah, there's chat. I'm going to bring mine up so that when we're ready. But what I want to do, like we do on all these calls, is just share my story. So you can kind of understand, a little bit of what's happened for us here in Canada, or why it's happened. And then we'll get into the training. And then at the end, if you want to talk about anything else outside of training, like ask questions about opening up this international business or anything like that, we can do that as well. But I'll dig into the nitty-gritty first. So like Emily said, my name's Karalee Lawson. I'm actually a speech language pathologist by trade. So never in a million years was I going to be the skincare girl. And it was about 7 years ago that we moved to provinces, so similar to moving states. And I committed to being a stay-at-home mom, because my 10-year-old daughter, I had ruined her life. And so I thought I needed to stay home for a couple of months and work all that out. Well, fast forward those 7 years, and I never did go back to work. We had 2 more beautiful children, Charlie and Bennett, and I was really happy being at home with them. I, in my career, thought I could cure everything cerebral palsy, and they always were my angels, and I worked with having them communicate. Throughout North America, I was never at home. I was always on an airplane, so I missed out on a lot with Callista. And so being at home with these muffins just meant more to me than I ever knew, because I didn't know what I didn't know. However, it was about 1.5 years, solid 2 years in, after I had our last baby, our son, that I found myself craving something a little more rewarding. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying my children aren't rewarding, but it just wasn't quite the same. So I said to my hubby, I said, I think I'm ready. I'm going to go back to work. And he said, do you want our house to burn down? And I said no, because that had actually already happened to us. And I knew it wouldn't be a good thing. But he was right. He had a really busy career himself, and it just wasn't going to be possible for the both of us to manage that. So I had now moved provinces for love, and I had given up my career for love. So I was pretty choked. But, I was happy doing a lot of the charity stuff we do. My husband's on the board of directors for an organization called Kids Cancer Care. So I spend a ton of time with that organization, and I really did love it. So introduce Rodan and Fields. It came into my life probably similarly how it came into lots of your life, through Facebook. And I was a hot mess. My skin was really struggling. I had probably one of the worst cases of pregnancy melasma, I think, that you could. I had a skin stash. I talked like this a lot, almost all the time. I had lots of pictures where it's like, you could see my eyes were smiling, but you couldn't see my face. And my forehead, you can see now, is not like a continent of dark marks. So I reached out to my girlfriend. I said, I'd really like to try these products. And she said, oh, just joking. They're not available in Canada. And I said, that's not funny. And she said, oh my goodness, it's going to be this amazing business opportunity. I think you should join me and you'd be fabulous and we'd have a lot of fun. And she was kind of vomiting all over me. And I said, what? I'm a speech language pathologist. And she said, oh, no, don't worry. You could totally do this. It's direct sales. I said, no. And I said, not only no, but do not ask me again. And I was really firm with her about that. And a part of the reason was I have a little dabble in direct sales. And when I say dabble, I mean complete failure. And so I knew this opportunity absolutely wasn't for me. And I didn't want to have anything to do with it. But she did. I said, I'll be your best customer. I'll support you. I get what it means to do this. If these work, I'm all over it. So she did keep sending me before and afters before the products launched in Canada. And I was like, oh, these look really interesting. I even went to a corporate meeting. We have a fabulous VP here in Canada. She's very charismatic. And I got a sample and I brought it home and I used it and I thought, oh, that felt good. But I still was like, nope, not doing this. The information was fabulous and it looked like I always called it a neat opportunity here in Canada, but I knew it wasn't for me. So, but one night I'm on the computer and I'm looking at the before and afters and my husband says, what's that? And I said, oh, it's this opportunity coming to Canada, or it's a skincare coming to Canada. I'm thinking about trying it. And he said, oh, honey, you're beautiful just the way you are. Which really meant do not spend another penny on skincare. After a couple Fraxel laser peels and a lot of money at the derm, I was still really suffering. And I said, I think I might do this as a business. I think I could do this. And he said, are you serious? I said, no, I really think I could do it this time. He was immediately unreceptive because quite frankly, if I brought another piece of jewelry into our home, we would be divorced. So I left it. I knew he was right. And without his support, I just thought, forget it. Well, I was very pleasantly surprised when 2 days later, my husband, who knows me quite well, came home and he said, hey, that Rodan and Fields thing? And I should probably mention my husband is an intense type A, very boring, international corporate business lawyer. So he came home and said, hey, that Rodan and Fields thing? And I said, yeah, thinking we were going to fight. He said, you need to get your hands all over that right now. So I did turn around at him and I said, so my husband's going to be home any minute and you should probably leave because I'm going to be in big trouble. And we laughed. We chatted a bit about his due diligence, but it really meant nothing to me. I was pretty convinced with the before and after. So something really phenomenal happened to us. That was literally like 2 years ago, in about 2 weeks. It was 2 years ago for us. And we agreed on something. And we decided that I was going to start this business. So I did. And I had a month of pre-launch where I talked to some girlfriends, some people who were really close to me. I said, hey, I think we should do this together. It might be fun. I really don't know anything about it because I can't try it. I can't use it, but it's the same doctors that created Proactive. What the heck? What do we have to lose? So some pretty incredible things happened when we launched here in Canada. I did get the products on my face. And in 17 days, I actually counted them because I could see my skin transforming. My melasma was gone. And we didn't have the accelerator pack, but it was literally gone. And our team built pretty quickly. We hit level 5 in our first 2 months and earned a really amazing trip to San Francisco where the training was just beyond my wildest belief. And then the best training I ever had was at a leadership retreat in San Diego. And this is where my business really changed last January. So I met Emily as a level 5 last January. We hit Premier in April. And we hit Lexus and Elite and RFX in August, all in the same month. I didn't do a lot of sleeping in August, but what I had done is really dug into the belief in myself, in this business. And it was a huge game changer. The personal empowerment we received in San Diego, what we learned about ourselves, how we got raw and vulnerable there. And that's why I'm going to ask you to do a little bit of that tonight, because there's a lot of training on how to hand out a glow pack or how to do a virtual event or a BBL. But I think where this business can really resonate with you is when it becomes about you. Okay, I love it. And Meredith Cheeson said this recently, that skincare is just a vehicle. Okay. And honestly, for me, it could be anything right now that we're selling. I love that we have an amazing product, but what I love more is mentoring and empowering and seeing the lives change of so many fabulous women and being a part of that. That is truly, truly a game changer for me. I did mention being rewarded in my previous career and how that was really important to me. So one of the biggest rewards came for me in this business. It was a little over a year ago now. It was my first night on stage with corporate telling my story, and I was a bit of a mumzilla. Okay, I was a huge mumzilla. I was yelling at someone to get my sunglasses, or I was going to get a migraine. I slammed the door. I didn't kiss anybody goodbye. I was quite awful. I thought I was going to be late, and I got in the car and my phone dinged. And it was a text message, and I thought it was going to be my husband getting angry at me. Instead, it was a text message from my 16-year-old daughter, and it said, "Mama," and there is one swear word in it. She says, "Mama, you have worked your ass off, and you deserve everything that is happening to you. I am so proud of you. I want to be you when I grow up. Now go rock that stage." So in that moment, this business came full circle for me, because never did my teenage daughter say to me when I was super creative with chicken, or driving her to every dance competition or fancy hairdos, that she wanted to be me. So what happened in that moment, and it still chokes me up, what happened in that moment is I realized how amazing this business was, the balance was. I was still there for her when she needed me, but I also got to demonstrate what it looked like to be a fierce, independent businesswoman. So my why came full circle. And so a big part of what I want you to do, and I'm sure you've done it, is really dig into that why. Peel back the onion. We're going to touch on it a little bit, but we're not going to train on your why, because you already know it. But I want you to just be so in focus with what your why is, because it really does resonate with me every day. I will save that text message for the rest of my life. And it motivates me more than my 3 and my 4-year-old, and just having that teenage moment. And we're all going to have different motivators, absolutely. But for me, that was phenomenal. So that's my story. But a lot of what was going on with me before this business went and exploded like crazy was fear. And so what I want to chat with you ladies about tonight is just that. I want to talk to you about fear. And I'm just going to see if I can share this right here. It might take me 2 seconds. And then, okay. So I was going to put this up later, but I just wanted to make sure that it worked. And I have a couple other things I'm going to try and manage. So if I'm over here looking at my notes a little bit, that's why. So your fear is huge. And it's not just about you're in this business. Fears are going to crop up in all sorts of ways. But I want you to think what you would do if you didn't have any fear. What do we do when we have fears, and what can we do to overcome them, and how can we leverage them? So that's what I want to talk about tonight, is actually leveraging them. Okay. I love this quote here, or this acronym, because it can literally have 2 meanings. You can forget everything and run, or you can face everything and rise. So I want you to right now, just really quickly, one of the first things that comes to mind, fear, in our chat, just type it in. Just what are one of your fears around this business? I'm going to try and do mine if I can. Now that I've shared my screen, maybe I can't see the chat. Hang on. I'm going to stop my share and then just go into chat. So, and when I first did this, my very first fear was failure. That was my fear. I was afraid of failure. Okay. So I want you to, like, if you don't want to put it out personally here on the screen, just write it down in your book so you've got that there in front of you. And how do we overcome that? How do we overcome that initial fear? And one of the easiest things, the failure part, is just that positive affirmation. You guys are all on this call because you were, I love it, not balancing my life, because you were not 50, because you were 1,500 by the 15th. So for me, the failure didn't resonate there. I need to tell myself, well, I didn't fail because I did 1,500 PSQV, right? I obviously reached out to people. I talked to them. There was no failure there. Falling back, that's legitimate. I went from RFX to elite, but I fell back. It happened, and we'll chat about that. But so there's lots of initial fears, and I love what you guys are, that you're saying, failing to meet my own goals, being annoying. So part of overcoming your fear is, how is your why going to push you through? Your why is really going to resonate with your fears. Is your why bigger than your fear? Okay. But I want to tell you something right now about those fears you just wrote down. It's not your true fear. Okay. Those are your surface fears. And I'm not going to ask you to write down what your true fear is, because you don't even know it yet. You probably don't know it right now. But what is going to be so important about that is getting to it, finding out what it is. Because I didn't know what mine was. And in the moment that I really realized what was holding me back, it was unreal what it did for my business. So I want you to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. First, we have to get really vulnerable. Vulnerability is about being open and raw, always being authentic. Authenticity is so huge, and knowing that that's okay. You don't have to be somebody that you're not. So once we get vulnerable, then really acknowledging it. So that's the next step. You've got to acknowledge it. And after you acknowledge it, what's your game plan? Okay? You really want to write down your fears. Break down the walls and the barriers to those fears that are trapping you in them. And in turn, they're trapping your momentum. So guess what? To break through your fears, you have to share them. So I'm going to share a quick little story with you about how I got to mine. And I mentioned my husband is a corporate business lawyer. We have a lot of friends who are very professional in their careers and very successful. So we were out for dinner one night with two other couples, and a recent file came up that my husband had worked on with another of the couples, and all the other two women, one of them was a lawyer and one of them was a financial advisor, and I was a Rodan and Fields. I was becoming successful in my business. I was level 5, and that was great. So they were chatting about this acquisition they had just made. It was a little company they had worked for called Visa. You may have heard of them. And so it was, they were chatting about this and some of the due diligence they had done, and I don't know, BPIs, and I was sitting back kind of feeling uncomfortable, and I thought, I'm going to pipe in and ask a question about, them going public, and I probably didn't make a lot of sense. And someone said, "Oh, don't worry, you're never going to understand." And they just kept talking, and I just thought, I kind of laughed it off and thought, well, that was kind of rude. But so I didn't say anything for the rest of the night. I literally didn't. I didn't say anything. I got in the car. I didn't say anything. My husband said, "What's wrong?" And I said nothing. And he knew. When I say nothing, it's probably the worst scenario for him. It's worse than when I'm upset or yelling. It's the saying nothing. And we got home. I still really couldn't say anything. And he said, what is going on with you? Like, what is going on? He didn't even realize that anything I said. I said, I'm really struggling with sometimes these situations we put ourselves in with people that you guys call professional. And it was just a really hurtful thing was said to me tonight. And I said, but it's the reason I am how I am. And he said, "What do you mean how you are?" I said, "It's the reason I don't share my business with you. It's the reason I don't share my business with your friends." And I didn't. I had so many opportunities in the first year in this business, so many networking opportunities through our charity, through my husband's business, through firm dinners, through firm retreats, being away in cities. I never once said anything about being involved with Rodan and Fields. I was almost ashamed at that time that if people asked me what I did, I said, "I'm a speech language pathologist." That's what I always said. I said, "I'm a speech language pathologist." I hadn't been a speech language pathologist in 6 years. I had been a successful Rodan and Fields consultant for over a year. I had already replaced my SLP income, but I wasn't telling anybody that in that realm of our world. I was working with my girlfriends, and a couple of women on the street had joined me. And so, oh, hi, Charlie. And okay, mommy's just going to be on a call. You want to say hi quick? Sometimes I have a helper. And so I really opened up to my husband that night, and I just said, "You know what? I'm so afraid of what people think. I'm terrified." And I was shocked by his response, because I think I always thought he was ashamed of me because he hadn't really brought it up either. But what it came down to is he had noticed I didn't talk about it. So he didn't think I wanted to. So we had a really long conversation that night where he told me how proud he was of me, that after that many years of not working, really embracing myself in it, and that he wanted me to share it. He wanted me to share it with everyone, that I had shared with him that night, that it was, for me, this was a gift that had changed me. Pulling off my Lululemon pants was just, and putting on my big girl shoes were such a big gift to me. And so I cried a lot that night. I really did. But I decided in that moment that I had learned what my biggest fear was. It was that I wasn't going to measure up, and I had really limited myself. But I had all this faith in myself and all this faith in my business. And why wasn't I utilizing that further? And I realized you can either stand in fear or walk in faith, but you can't do both. And I chose in that moment, with the support of my husband, to stand in my faith in myself, in this business, in these products, and most importantly, in these women I was working with and that I wanted to work with. So let me tell you what I did. I pulled out that chicken list. It was long. It was huge. And I started making coffee dates. I started chatting with women. And I was shocked. I mean, my PC business grew insane, but I had some women join me in business who I never thought would. I mentioned I'm an RFX achiever. That means I have 5 level 5s on my team. I knew one of them when I started this business. The other 4 of those women I met. One of them was just 6 months ago that I met her. The other one were 7 or 8 months ago. I didn't know them before. And it was about me overcoming that fear. It was about me acknowledging it and being really vulnerable and getting to the nitty-gritty of it. If you don't have control of your mindset, you will constantly be living in your fears, consciously or subconsciously. So the big thing was identifying what is that big fear? Because you know what, Joanna, it's more about them being annoying. Okay. It's so much more than that, because we're not annoying, and if we're annoying to someone, then you know what, that's their loss and next, because there's other people who we're going to think are annoying. I have a favorite clothing store that I love to shop with. 3 or 4 of the girls I go into, I love seeing. When I see one girl, I'm like, oh, she's going to bug me today. And that's okay. That's just her personality. So you know what, you might be annoying to one person, but to the rest of them, you're not. So put that fear away. But that's not really the peel back the onion fear, okay? It's not, where you really identified your barriers and started taking your power back. And if that is your biggest fear, then that's an easy one to take your power back from, because that's your power to own. That's your power to have. And I want all of you to be as powerful as you can be. And it's not until, and like I said to you, you've got to share your fears. So we're going to talk about how you can do that in a little bit. But getting back to your why, you've got to first know your why, and that it is not tangible. And I'm sure for all of you, it's no longer tangible. Goals are going to motivate you. The extra pair of shoes or, replacing your salary, that's motivating. But that why, your purpose, that's the heartbeat, the fuel that's going to drive you. And so I had that amazing why in Callista. And so why was I holding myself back through my fears? Okay, so my why needed to be more powerful than that fear. And when I thought about it and I chat about it with Matthew, and I knew that I could really demonstrate to her that by overcoming that fear, by showing her I wasn't afraid, if we could be out for dinner and I could be proud of this business and talk about it, talk about my successes, even my failures, or just talk about the products. I was not owning it at all. So I wasn't posting on Facebook at all in the beginning. I don't post a lot on Facebook now either, actually, but I just do my business a little bit differently. I am that girl, and you might notice I like to talk. I pick up the phone a ton. I think the phone is my friend, and it wasn't ever a fear of mine. So if that's a big fear of yours, then chat about that. Talk about it, because the phone can be one of your most powerful weapons in this business. So you can either decide that why, that purpose, that heartbeat is going to drown out everything else. It's going to drown out those fears, or you can let it hold you back. That's going to be your decision. And I really want you to, I want to share that screenshot again. of, forget everything and run, or face everything and rise. I absolutely love it. The breakdown of your fear is what's going to allow you to break through. So it is a little bit about vulnerability. Absolutely. And sometimes it's not easy to get there, but you need to know all these things. When I first peeled this back, some of the things I had written down was, you're enough, you're smart, you're brave, you're talented, you're dependable, you're trustworthy. All those things that were not resonating in myself to allow me to just culminate in that fear and not reach out. And by breaking into your own fears, guess what? You're going to allow others to break through their fears. And it's amazing what you will start to see happen. I really experienced this in San Diego. I think most of you know who Meredith Teason is, and she kind of helped us with that. One day, if you guys ever look at the picture of us on the beach, don't look too closely because we'd all been bawling. But I really want you to be comfortable with being vulnerable with yourself and those fears. So how are you going to address these? How are we going to do this? I'm going to give you ladies a call to action. Okay. First, I want you to share with an accountability partner or a partner your fear. It doesn't have to be today, because it might take some time to get right into it. Someone who's going to hold you accountable to it, though. Okay. Decide what you're going to do to change your mindset. Eleanor Roosevelt, I'm going to read this quote because I love it. She said, "You gain strength, courage, and confidence by every experience in which you really stop to look fear in the face. You must do the thing you cannot do." So I really challenge you to, whoever your accountability partner is, or whether it's Emily or someone else on your team or your cross line, or if it's just your husband, because sometimes that can be the most vulnerable place. Our husbands don't always understand what we're doing, and to have their support is huge. I still have to kind of get raw with my husband for him to get how emotional this journey can be. And that can be a huge part of your fear, is acknowledging that this is an emotional business. As much as it's fun and it can be great, and the belief in yourself and being your own CEO is amazing, it's also extremely emotional. It can be a roller coaster, and that's scary. So you have to be able to go with the highs and the lows. And if you can't attack those lows, which are often your fears, then you aren't going to have success, because you're going to be avoiding them. You're only going to be looking for the highs. Okay. So if you can dig in and be okay with those lows, that they're going to happen. And a lot of the time for me, a low is, like a PC cancellation, or I had a pretty big one in my third month of RFX. One of my level 5s quit. She just said, "I'm not going to do this anymore." And so that really knocked me sideways. I'm not going to exaggerate it. It took me down for about a week. Usually I let myself have a little pity party for an hour or two when something goes a bit sideways or you get a no. But that one, we'd worked pretty hard as a team for RFX, and we did rally in November, and we replaced that level 5 leg. So we were pretty proud of that. And so hopefully we can close out December and earn our circle. But it really knocked me aside. But I knew that we as a team were bigger than what her decision had been. So the second part of your call to action is to challenge yourself. What are you going to do immediately after this call to overcome your fear? Is it reaching out to a chicken lister? Is it telling Emily, your upline or your accountability, Emily, that you're terrified of picking up the phone, or your husband, that you need him to link arms with you? What is it that you need to do immediately after this to start to dig into it? Then I want you to decide that you're going to face it and rise from it. But if you don't share it, if we just do this call and you think about it and you put it in your head, like things you do in your RF insomnia, of the things you're going to do the next day and you never do. They sound great when you're lying there in bed, like, "Oh my gosh, I have such a great idea." Yeah, I don't have time, or I'm too afraid. I really want you to take immediate action on this. I really want you to reach out to someone tonight and talk about it. And if it truly is just being annoying, then challenge that. But I really think when you ladies dig deeper into it, you're going to find something that is truly holding you back. And I want you as a team, and especially this amazing part of you who are doing 1500 by the 15th. That is phenomenal. Congratulations. You guys have a great spirit and a great drive to support each other. So that's kind of what I wanted to train on tonight. I hope some of it resonated with you, and I'd love to just open it up to any questions you might have.
That was so good.
Thanks.
I was about to cry. It was that good. It was so, I'm sorry, maybe I'm getting my period or something. It was so good. Girls, this is your moment. Like, ask her anything.
Or you.
Don't be shy. Come on.
Well, and I see, I don't know, I'm going to get it. I could say Andrea or Andrea, I don't know. Being stuck in team building. Now, are you feeling stuck building your team or your team building?
Building my team.
Building your team. So it's that, so there's something in your fear there, in your reach outs, the people you're not reaching out to, or the authenticity you're not sharing, or, you know, there's something in your language. And this is what I've been finding a lot on my team when we're digging in about, like, why can't I close? Why can't I bring her on board? Or why am I not sharing with more people? That's the vulnerability. That's where I've asked you to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. Because none of us went to high school and said, I'm going to be a Rhode Island Fields consultant, and trained on what it meant to chatting with the mom at dance or someone in Starbucks. Or, you know, I was in chapters the other day and I ended up having a half an hour conversation with a woman at Thomas the Train table, because that's where my son wanted to play. And we just started chatting, and then I gave her Give It a Glow, and now we're having a play date and she's coming to a meeting. But you just, and at first some of it feels weird. I'm like, oh God, I talk to strangers all day long now. But it's fun. You know, I get to meet all these amazing people. So, and I know a lot of that is easier said than done, but it really is, like I said, just being comfortable with being uncomfortable and being so vulnerable. One of my favorite hashtags on our team, though, is don't be weird. You know, like, just don't be weird. Just be yourself. So you're not going to be me. You're not going to be Emily. But if people see that it's coming from you, your own vulnerability, your authenticity. I've had people join me in business. They're like, oh my God, you're just so damn excited. I just have to. Like, I don't know anything else about it, but you're obviously, but that's who I am. I'm like reverberate a lot of things. And so if that was a reason someone joined me, that's awesome. I'm sure it's a reason people haven't. But just always be yourself. Like, I was able to get on here with you girls tonight with no makeup on and go, oh my gosh, this call's happening. But yeah, thank you, Rhode Island Fields. It's okay to be 40, right? So yeah, I really want you to peel it back. And
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
So what happened? Like, what's the best way? Sorry, my girls decided it was snack time. Okay, so I will talk to friends and like catch up with people constantly and just be like, you know, ask them like, how's your life? How are things going? And they say, you know, I'm great. How are you doing? And I said, oh, I'm great. I just started my own business. And then it's crickets. Yeah. You know, and they're just like, oh, like, okay, like, I'm not going to tell you about my business. I just told you I started one. Can we keep talking? Like, where do you go from there?
Yeah, I mean, the crickets are really hard. A lot of the time, you know, you give it a little bit of time, and to say, if you've already said you started your own business, I'm just completely honest and say, hey, I know that I told you I started my own business, and it's been super exciting for me. I'd love to just share a tiny bit with you, because I just really value your opinion. You know, there's no pressure, but like, as a friend, I'd really love to hear what you think, and I truly think this is different. You know, if you think I've totally lost my mind, it's like my last group of I sent to crickets. I challenged myself to reach out to the crickets, the ones I'd done 2, 3, 4 messages to, and I did it in a new way. And I said, hey, crazy skincare girl here. Like, I know you haven't had a chance to get back to me, and you probably think I've lost my mind because I'm reaching out to you again, but I am a little bit crazy about it and I love it. And out of the 8 people I reached out to, calling myself the crazy skincare girl, 7 of them got back to me when they never had before. So it was just about me being like real and authentic, because that's how I was feeling. I was feeling kind of crazy. And I just thought, you know what? Hi, it's the crazy girl. And they're like, oh my gosh. And most of the responses went like this. Oh my gosh, I don't think you're crazy. I just haven't had time. I've been thinking about it. Or, you know what? Oh, I love you. I love that you're crazy. Or, it wasn't like, yeah, you're a nut bar. Or maybe the one girl that didn't respond is thinking that, but oh well. So, and that was just me. It was what I was thinking. So this is what I always say to everyone. If you're thinking it, then just say it. A lot of the time, there's nothing unauthentic about saying to someone, you've been on my mind. I've been thinking about you at all. Hi, cutie pies. But you can, and I say that to people like, hey, you've been on my mind. And obviously if I'm reaching out, that's the truth. And I've just got something I really want to share with you. I do use the I value your opinion a lot, because I do value people's opinions. And even if it's not positive, I say, you know what, thank you so much for sharing that with me. I do. I asked you for it and I really appreciate it. And, and people are watching. Oh my goodness. If they're not acknowledging you on Facebook or Instagram or at the park, my mother-in-law doesn't even acknowledge that I do this business. She never says anything to me about it. But people are watching. And so just stay positive in it. Stay really positive. It's really going to resonate from you. That was a long answer. That's what happens with me though. Sorry.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Of course.
I did tell someone I wasn't trying to be a creepster the other day, and she actually talked to me for a few minutes. So.
Right? And that's your authenticity. Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks.
No one wants to know how awesome it is here in Canada. No, I'm just joking. Let's talk about all your pre-enrollment. No, we don't have to go into that. That's unreal, though. Oh my God, seriously. And you're moving to Australia?
Yeah, what? The pre-enrollment was really fantastic. I'm just going to be really honest. I think as Canadians, we're really lucky. We have insane Australian contacts. I have 2 Australians living on my street. Any ski resort you go, it's a Canadian thing, I think. We're just like, oh, who do you know? And it's like, oh. So that's been nice, for sure. I'm not going to sugarcoat it and say that we weren't in a great situation. We really were. My brother lives there. He's a doctor there. We have this connection with Australia. So
yeah, you do. I have a Canadian contact that she's like, oh, my best friend is from Australia. I'm like, wait, now what?
So how come she's not doing the business? Your Canadian contact.
We've tried. You know what? We're going to have to do a 3-way call.
Yeah, where is she? Where's she at?
She's actually in Illinois now, but she's waiting for her visa. So, but she,
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, anytime you guys need a Canadian 3-way. I did 5 of them today.
Canadian 3-ways. Good thing we know what we're talking about here. I've never had a Canadian 3-way. Just kidding.
They're a lot of fun.
They're a lot of fun. Yes, that's awesome.
Not those icebergs. I'm not even lying. Well, I feel like here in Canada, I do describe it as we are not even the tip of the iceberg. We are like a teeny tiny snowflake on the tip of the iceberg. And I would never, ever use the words ground floor opportunity. I hate that because I have seen so many women in the US become successful when they didn't start at the launch. And I've had a lot of people join me in a year later, and I don't like that wording. I don't think that has anything to do with, it's helpful, I'm not going to lie, with the success in this business. So, I have American consultants on my team who have joined me, and so that I met in the spa on a high five trip, which was awesome. So you don't know where you're going to meet people. So yeah.
Well, if you guys have no more questions, or if you have one more, let's squeak it out. I'm going to let Karalee go so she can be with her family, but we so appreciate your time. Does anyone have a question before I close it up? No? Okay. If you get really shy, you can always message her later or message me and I'll give it to her because she's awesome.
Always message me. Always. I don't know that I'll get back to you right. Like, if you don't hear from me right away, be like, oh, she doesn't like me. No. I usually like get a chunk of time in a week for my Facebook messages. So, but I try to respond to, and Emily knows. She's like, oh my God, she went radio silent. She said she's going to do a call. But yeah, like, please.
Yes, you are amazing. This was a really great call. Honestly, it was like one of the best calls I've ever heard in 2 years of business. So I have a full 2 pages of notes here, and we're so thankful for your time. And really, we were praying for your grandpa.
Thank you. You know what? He's doing pretty well.
Which is amazing.
Yeah, he had like a blood clot after his surgery. So like he had a little stroke, but because he was there, they could get him that TPA drug. And so he'll be in the hospital for a while, like in the rehab for now he's got a head and a stroke, but it was way better than we thought. Like he's talking, he's got some paralysis. So he's with us, right? So yay.
Yes. Oh, well, we're so thankful and really appreciate your time and all your incredible insight and tips and everything and all your training. So thank you so much for your time.
I love you.
I love you too.
When you asked me. So.
Oh my God. Are you serious? It was an honor that you said yes. So thank you so much because we loved it. That's why they're like.
They're writing down their fears. They're madly writing like, oh my gosh, what am I going to tell my husband tonight?
Totally.
You know honestly, like as we leave, that is one of my biggest tips. Bring them in, and bring them in with your fears around your business and your emotions because they don't get it. Like they're just not that smart. And if you can just really say like, babe, this is like harder than it looks. I'm not just, it's hard. And if you can be emotional and raw with them, then you can do it with anyone on your team. It's going to be way easier with your girlfriends than your husband. Trust me. So
awesome.
Thank you, girls.
Thank you so much. We appreciate it. You get back to your sweet family and we will chat soon.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Bye. Good night. Talk to you soon.